often get excited about things, but sometimes you find something that's already been around for a long time and just haven't noticed it. Now, my technique for repairing little bits of damage and little bits of wear on these old Harris tweed jackets, which must be preserved because you're never going to get this old quality Harris tweed ever again, normally to open up the sleeve or open up the bottom lining and steal some threads from the inside so you're darning with the same colour thread. And it's easy to make a quite good job of darning a loose weave houndstooth check like this but I've recently found something, and I was buying, I don't know, some fusing tape or something, a little haberdashery store, and I noticed this stuff. Now the brand is Trimmits, like other brands available. Now it's cotton, but it's sort of fluffy cotton and looks just like Harris tweed yarn, and it comes in every colour. This particular one, I found some that's got several colours in the same little bunch, and so I'll just pick out one of these greys here, and it's exactly the same colour as this coat. So you see, the brilliant thing about this, instead of having to use a massive great big darning needle, now with a darning needle you can't go in between threads to get a really good purchase on it, but you can use a regular cotton needle with a bigger eye. Now the advantage of using a cotton needle is you can actually get in between threads, so it gives you a really good sort of purchase. And this is black, there'll be some very dark grey. I've got all these colours in this one thing here, so I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. Darning Harris tweed is actually quite rewarding because you darn it and then you press it, and what I like is when I do it, then I have to look for where I've done it, and you might not be able to do an invisible repair, but you can do an unnoticeable repair. And like I said, this kind of Harris tweed, it's just not going to be seen again. My first suit that I bought was Harris tweed. It was like carpet. That was in the days when everything was from the sheep on the island. The dyes were locally produced. It was woven on little wooden hand looms. Now they're lovely people on those islands up there, but they have to move with the times. Synthetic clothing's taken over shooting and fishing and this sort of thing. People don't wear Harris tweed plus fours anymore. They're wearing high-tech stuff. So these old Harris tweed jackets, particularly up to about the mid-70s, they've got to be preserved. I used to, a long time ago, they'd be thrown away, but now, even if a jacket's completely wrecked, you look at a jacket like this, and if it's completely wrecked and completely worn out, you probably still get 3 or 4 8-piece caps out of it. And you can use the lining in the cap, so you've got vintage quality lining. You can make a vintage cap. You can make several vintage caps out of one old Harris tweed jacket that's not fit for purpose anymore. So yeah, don't throw them anyway, don't throw them away anymore, repair them. I love looking inside stuff. I remember I might have talked about canvassing before. I love to just count the spaces between the stitches to see if they're straight and wonder who did it and wonder if they got away with it. But anyway, never to criticise anyone else's work, because this is probably better than I could do myself. So anyway, this is an old huntsman coat, very much Peaky Blinders style, double-breasted, sometimes called Chesterfield. It's got a velvet collar, not an inset velvet collar, but nice velvet collar. It's a really, really beautiful coat, and sadly it's not my size, because I'd love that. It's really nice. It's a bit heavy, but they're not heavy when you get them on, a bit like the German leather coats. If you ask somebody to hold them, they say, oh wow, they're really heavy. When you put it on, it just feels normal. Anyway, someone or something has happened to this, and the lining, it came to me like this. The lining's gone. It's 1950s, I think, Huntsman. I'm going to put a lining back in it, and it's not difficult to do. I did a similar thing with I do like a bit of old Harris tweed, and this is a fabulous old, I think it's made by Horns or someone, forget who. Yeah. Yeah, no, Hope Brothers, right, really nice old English brand, and the old 1940s Harris tweed level. Now this was half lined, so a lot of stuff that gets made for the American market is sort of lighter weight. They like the Harris tweed, but it's a little bit hot for them, so they don't line it fully. So I put this tassel lining in here and finished it sort of quite nicely, so it looks sort of quite original really. It's now a warm coat, and this is my my winter coat. And this raglan sleeve style of this coat, they are so nice. It's just like getting in a blanket or something. They're really comfortable. They're stylish. You can wear them a little bit oversized and they just look great. Unbelievably comfortable. This one has got the nice moleskin pockets, which a lot of old overcoats have velvet in the pockets, and it costs nothing extra to do it. I don't know why they don't now. Put your hands in and you think, oh wow, yeah, I want to keep my hands in these pockets. Yeah. But yeah, so this, I added the lining to make this a little bit warmer, and I'm going to do a similar thing with the Huntsman. Now, it's not a difficult job to reline an overcoat, especially if you got lucky like me. About 20 years ago, I bought a lot of these. They are, I think it might have been from some theatre company. These are suit bags and garment bags, but they've been made out of lining material and made a long time ago. So this is genuine 1950s lining material, 100% cotton. So it's perfect if you're going to reline a vintage piece like this. What I'll do with the Huntsman one is I line it to about here, which you need it to be a bit sort of slippy to slide on. You can't line the top and the sleeves with wool, it would be uncomfortable. And I'm going to line the lower bit with this. This is an old kilt. I might change my mind on the tartan. I've got quite a lot of these. You get yards and yards and yards of tartan with a kilt. And this is a large size man's kilt, 100% wool. It's got a few bits of sort of moth damage here and there, so I'm going to unpick it and get myself a very long length of this tartan. And so the bottom of this coat might be a different tartan to this, because this is maybe a little bit bright, makes a bit too much of a statement. So the top will be in this nice black sort of satin cotton, the shiny side of course. Yeah. So the top will be like that, and the bottom will be this lovely tartan. Now, it's not difficult to reline. You don't really have to have a lot of great skills to reline a jacket. Just take your cloth, and all you need to do, see, this already has one seam up that side, and could even reuse that seam. So you just make a start by pinning it into position and going along till it feels like going to stop, and you can very easily work out the pattern for a lining. This is going to be really great. I think by February I might have it finished. Sadly, it's not my size, it's about a size 42, but lovely bit of Huntsman kit. You'll never ever see this kind of cloth being made again. These buttons don't exist now, these lovely Savile Row buttons. Silk velvet on the collar. Really beautiful thing, cut by one of their legendary cutters at Huntsman. Absolutely super garment. So I'll be spending probably about a day on this to finish it, so I'll let you have a look later. I may have mentioned this before. It's a fabulous find. This is a Huntsman overcoat, which for some inexplicable reason somebody's taken the lining out of it and as a project, but they didn't get to finish it. I get to finish it sometime now. I was incredibly lucky. From a theatrical company that I used to supply, they had a lot of surplus suit covers. This is one of them. Just ordinary suit covers, which are like big pillowcases. So they just put over jackets and suits. But they've been made out of lining material, and they've been made a long time ago. So what we have here, I've got about 50 of these. I've got a fantastic source of vintage lining material, absolutely appropriate, to lining the top of this overcoat. In fact, checking with a little bit of the original lining left here, you can see it's almost exactly the same thing. The important thing is it's 100% cotton, because I have a rule with linings about not using synthetics. Now, you don't have to be an expert tailor to reline something. There's a bit of give and take in lining. Now, it's quite simple to start. I'm going to do the top. Now, the top bit has to be sort of slippy and slidey so you can get it on comfortably. But the bottom, if you want to be a little bit warmer, you might use a Melton. And I'm going to use, for a bit of fun, some of this. I think this is King's Own Highlands or Gordon, I'm not sure. It's one of the Highland Regiment things. And I've got lots and lots of surplus. I used to make tartan trews out of this stuff, and now the Highland Regiments have been disbanded into just one Highland Regiment. There's a lot of this stuff floating around, and it's pretty cheap. Now, it's really quite simple. The lining's in 3 or 4 different parts, and you simply start. I'm going to start down at this corner here. First of all, you'll put a hem like that to start off with. So you're going to start like this, and you'll have a little half-inch hem on the other side. So you're going to press that so that it looks like that. Now, you could pin it into place. I always like to just tack it into place with some white cotton. So I'll do this really quickly here. I'm not going to cut this cloth until I've got this tacked up to the waist where it wants to be. Do this really quickly. Great big stridey, because when we stitch it on, it'll be in a black cotton, and this is just to hold it in place. And before you actually put any fine stitching in it, you just press it and sort of shrink it and make sure. So, see, now that's basically, oh, oops, missed. This is quite tough old fabric. It's probably made by Crombie. So that's got to hold that in place. We'll press it before we actually stitch the thing in. Now, this is going up to about the waist here, and we put the bottom in first because the top bit is going to overlap when you put it on. So it's exactly the same thing with the top bit. So I will pretty much do all this side up to the shoulder and up to the sleeve, and do exactly the same thing with this. It's going to look pretty much like that. I love the fact that tartan's geometric, so you get your lines straight very, very easily. So in the same way, this is just going to be tacked on like that, following the original line. So that's what it's going to look like when it's finished. It's going to be quite a nice overcoat, I think. Unfortunately, it's not my size. About size big for me. Even though there is a tradition of wearing overcoats a little bit on the big side, this is going to go to somebody else. Now, I'm in love with Harris tweed. My first suit was a Harris tweed suit. When I was 17, I had a Harris tweed suit tailored, and I was telling my friends, I'm getting a suit. It's Harris tweed. That was like saying I'm getting a car. It's a Mercedes. Harris tweed in those days was this stuff. Really dense, incredibly hard-wearing stuff. The market is different now, and so modern Harris tweed is made for the fashion business, and it's lovely stuff, but it's not. We don't make +4s out of it anymore, sadly. But anyway, tragically, lots of old coats like this that got a little bit moth damaged or people grew out of would get thrown away. But these coats, especially this colour and the love colour, are so precious now. You have to hang on to them, and it's worth doing a little bit of repairs. Now, this has had some pretty bad moth damage here and there in some pretty visible places. But the great thing about this is it's a plain colour, so it's very, very easy to darn a plain colour with a not an invisible repair, but an unnoticeable repair. Now I'm going to have a go at all these little holes here. They're all over the place, but particularly this one right on the lapel, with the canvassing showing through on the underneath. This has got the lovely old Harris Tweed label. It's Burton Taylor. This is probably made late 1950s. We don't know. Yeah, dates are always a bit confusing on Harris Tweed. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal some of the same cloth from the inside, from a seam where we've got some to spare. So we start by unpicking this bottom bit. Now, if you've got something with a pattern, you'll want some vertical seams and some horizontal seams. So you can take it from the bottom hem and from the centre seams. You only have to make a little hole about as big as your fist, basically, and sometimes this unpicker just sails through. Got a little bit careful because if you get a bit too savage, you can tear the lining. Right. So now. Oh, it's stitched in two places. Oh, great. Here we go. Now, there's a shortcut to this, which I don't advise people to do unless you have. Once you've made a little bit of opening, you can take a shortcut and just slide the scissors in there and be a little bit careful. Just open it up and slide the scissors along, just getting the cutting edge of the scissors. We'll unpick it in the same way like that. Sometimes you can go quite quickly, depends on the kind of thread used. But anyway, look, here we are. We've got inside it, and so we can start robbing a bit of the... now they've put the end of this, they've sealed it up a little bit. So I'm going to open a little bit more and attack a seam in a different place. Yeah, well done, David. I've torn it, but here we go. Let's go to this side bit here. And we just need to catch one nice long thread from one of these seams. Okay, here's the edge of the seam. If they've cut it on the grain line, we should be able to get a nice long piece of cloth out of it. And we're going to take some of it, we're going to nick some of it. I've just claimed a couple of these threads here. They don't need to be much longer than this if you're dealing with a really small hole. I'm going to thread these onto the darning needle and then sneakily start weaving them into that. Probably do that a dozen times and that hole will be near invisible. Tiny surface with the to give it a good purchase. So I'm sort of pushing it through the cloth, and then of course it's quite free when it gets to the hole, and then sort of try to snake it in between the threads that are there. Let it surface just one place and then down again. Yeah. So there. Now all we have to do now is, this will grip quite well in there. And I put one in right in the centre. When that tail disappears like that completely, you now have one piece in the middle, and so we just snip that off like that. Now, it doesn't take long to completely fill that little gap with these vertical ones, and then just start putting a few horizontal ones in. And you've got a pretty good repair there, and you can proudly step out in a Harris Tweed jacket. This lovely old overcoat is a little bit bigger than my size, but this raglan sleeve style is really, really comfortable and can actually be worn a little bit bigger. So it's just tragic that for the sake of a few little holes we lose some of these fabulous garments. This is a super old coat. I'm just wearing it like a big sort of cape. It's fabulous. Oh great, and it's got the original button in the pocket. Yeah, mess around with that later.